Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto has a dragon sealed in him and he fell in love with Hana Inuzuka Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Our blonde hero is walking towards the Inuzuka compound with a snow-white fox kid in his arms. It's been about a month since the wave mission where Naruto gained his new Nindo and resolved to protect his precious peoples. The small kid he holds in his arms shivers slightly and snuggles closer to the blonde trying to keep the heat in its body. He smiles softly and looks down the street. We're almost there, Shiroi-chan, just hold on, Hana-chan will fix you right up. Naruto says. Naruto walks into the clinic and looks around for Hana. Luckily for him, there's no one else there at the time and Hana walks out when she heard the door open. She smiles seeing Naruto with yet another animal for her to heal. She always enjoyed her little visits from the blonde-haired boy. He had a heart of gold and anyone who couldn't see it was blind as a bat. She stood at about 5 feet 6 inches and had dark brown hair with a slight red tint to it which came out as a ponytail at the top of her neck and 2 bangs fell forward over her face. She had a fang mark on each cheek just like her brother Kiba, however she had a heart-like face and beautiful chocolate-colored eyes. She wore a chunin jacket with its zipper halfway up her medium to large C-cup breasts. Her jacket seemed to flow down to skin-tight black shorts that went halfway down her thighs. Hana smiles and says, "Well Naruto, what's wrong with her?" Naruto simply says, "I think she has a cold but I'm not sure you're the doctor after all." Hana laughs and misses the dreamy look that flashes across Naruto's face. She takes the kid from his arms saying, "Come on, I'll take care of her." They walk in the back and the Haomaru triplets, each the size a good wolf, tackle Naruto to the ground and start licking him mercilessly. Hana laughs even as she diagnoses Shiroi as having nothing more than the common cold. She smiles seeing Naruto get back up and start tackling the dogs all around the small play area just outside the office she's in. Hana calls out to her dogs to stop harassing Naruto and they comply but not until the eldest nips Naruto in the butt for tackling her. Naruto yelps and yells, "No fair!" Hana-chan said to stop. She chuckles, "Well Naruto, you were right, she only has a cold, she should be good as new in a few days if you can give her water and food." Naruto smiles, "Sure Hana-chan. Thanks again." She simply smiles and replies, "It's no problem Naruto, you always look out for the animals, you're welcome here in the clinic anytime." He beams at the praise and then chuckles nervously scratching the back of his head, "Yeah sure thanks." She looks at him suspiciously but waves it off and asks, "So are you going to keep this one or let it go like the others?" At this point, the fox kitten woken from its sleep just so and proceeded to jump onto Naruto's pants, climb into his jacket and run all around the jacket making Naruto laugh as he was ticklish, followed by poking its head out of the jacket right under his chin. Hana could only smile as she watched Naruto squirm in laughter and then do absolutely nothing to stop the fox from getting close to him. The kit cocked its head to the side cutely looking at Naruto with eyes that could rival the best puppy dog in existence. He groaned and then smiled. "Well, I guess I can't ignore that. I'll adopt Shiroi-chan then," Naruto said with enthusiasm. Hana chuckled, "She seems to do that a lot around Naruto." AMD said, "Well, make sure you come by and get her checked out every once in a while." Naruto nodded and ran towards the door. "Bye Hana-chan, thanks again. I got team practice." With that he bolted out the door. Hana smiled and then sighed. She wasn't oblivious. He had been sneaking glances at her the entire time they were here. She knew his life was bad, but bad enough to make her an object of affection. That was not good. She decided a night out with the girls, Yugao, Kurenai, and Anko, would help. Later that day around 9 p.m., outside the gate to Konoha, we see a man about 5 feet 11 inches with silver hair that falls limp to just barely reach his shoulders and obsidian black eyes standing there looking at the city with a sense of apprehension. He is wearing a black sleeveless muscle shirt with black cargo pants that sorta hang off his body with silver lightning bolts near the bottom. The man wears black shinobi sandals and a silver sleeveless haori with black flames across the bottom. In kanji, it says, Ryujin, or, Dragon God, although most misread it and say, Ryujin, or, Dragon Blade, not 100% sure on that, but please correct me if I'm wrong. He smiled and said, so this is the place, huh? Hope I can find the gaki. He walked up to the gates and handed them the papers. They nodded and he was on his way. He knew it was late and decided his search would start tomorrow. So he headed towards the prominent bar in the area. The Raging Tiger. He walked in and sat down at an open table near the back booths. He ordered some skewers and silently ate whilst he watched the surrounding Chunin and Junin chatting, trying to identify if any of them had information on his target. Luckily he sat right next to the largest booth there that happened to house the Junin senseis, and the next booth had Hana and the girls. Hana sighed and said, I know I got myself into this, but it's not like I can just tell the kid off. I mean, he is a great guy, but it's too much trouble, not to mention he's 4 years younger than me. Kurenai nodded. I know what you mean. I've been lucky enough to break Hinata out of liking him, and she actually gained confidence. Just from these 2 sentences the man was frowning rather badly. Who breaks a girl's heart? He closed his eyes and for a second his eyelids flashed silver before turning back to their tan color. He nodded, having gotten the info he wanted. Yes, it's an ability of his and no, he won't use it again. He's morally against it, but this was important to him. Hana looked shocked at Kurenai. You broke her of it? That's kinda mean, Kurenai. Anko shook her head. No, it's not. She shouldn't be a fangirl. Yugao gave her 2 cents and said, she wasn't really a fangirl, she actually used him to get stronger. But, it's sad we can't help him. The council would cause so many problems it'd be unbelievable. Kurenai turned to the senseis and said, speaking of fangirls, did you guys break yours yet? Asuma seemed to sweat and said, it's a work in progress. Kakashi waved his hand lazily. You say something. That's we haven't even tried cause we are too lazy, if I've ever heard one. The man said. Kakashi didn't like what the man was saying and replied, and just who are you? The man inclined his head and said, isn't it polite to introduce yourself first? True. My name is Maida Guy, and I wish to know who would dim the flames of youth of my colleges. The man stared at Guy then smirked. Well, my friend, my name is Sora Ryu, and I wouldn't go so low as to dim your flames of youth, but rather I say they did that themselves. Everyone stared shell-shocked that this stranger had just matched Maida Guy in his flames of youth speech. Sora chuckled then got serious. I heard everything you people said. And I must say I am sorely disappointed. Asuma replied, now see here, we train our teams. Sora snapped and said sternly, don't lie to me. He continued, Asuma, you simply trained Shikamaru in Shogi and Go, leaving Ino to be a fangirl. Simple genjutsu would have worked for her. And Choji to eat and not really work on his skills. Kurenai, you focused far too much on Hinata when you could have simply trapped her in a genjutsu that showed her she had to save her friends or die. You still trained Kiba and Shino, but their clans have done the most work. I won't lay all the blame on you because you did offer them training at any time, they just don't fit your style. Guy, you are the best teacher here, you never neglected your students, and although you did train Lee the most, he needed it, and Tenten and Neji were never ignored. Kakashi. Well, you just plain suck. You trained the Uchiha because of his bloodline and neglected the fangirl, which could have been cured by a genjutsu similar to the one for Hinata and Ino. To be honest, your biggest mistake is the orange-wearing prodigy who needs to be taught how to fight and how to use chakra correctly. If you would have, he would be a Chunin, almost Junin right now, and not an academy student. Once again everyone was shell-shocked at this proclamation. Kakashi was thinking, who the hell is this guy? Guy and Kurenai were pretty much relieved that he praised them, while Asuma was none too happy. Sora looked at Hana and frowned, then at Yugao and scowled outright. And you say you wanna help him but the council stands in your way. Ignore them. You are shinobi, not helpless civilians. Are you not among the best ninja and kunoichi this village has to offer? He sighed and everyone noticed that the bar wasn't even looking at them. Kurenai noticed and thought, genjutsu. Yes, it's a genjutsu and don't worry, I won't attack. I already got what I'm looking for. Kakashi heatedly replied, what do you mean by that? It doesn't matter, you won't remember anyways. Sora said, shaking his head, and then he disappeared in a silver lightning bolt. When the flash dissipated, they all looked at each other and Anko said, well, I guess that's it for the night. Later, losers. And shunned away. With a shake of their heads, the others said their goodbyes and left for their homes, completely oblivious to the ass chewing they just got. That night, midnight, Sora went across the rooftop searching for the dilapidated building his target slept in. No, it doesn't deserve to be called a home. It's nothing more than a shelter in the wind. He came to the building and smiled. He could feel his target's power and was happy to know this place hadn't snuffed it out. He sneaked into the boy's room and looked around. It was bare with only essentials which are broken and barely working. He was not happy about these conditions and felt his anger rising. He sighed and calmed himself. It wouldn't do for him to attract Anbu to this site. He looked down at Naruto and Shiroi and smiled, seeing the fox kid lovingly snuggled into his chest. Perhaps he won't need all the work I thought he would, Sora thought. Boy, he should have known better. Once more he closed his eyes and silver chakra enveloped him. A golden chakra rose and covered Naruto just as Sora looked at him. He smiled and the chakras reached out and touched. With a blinding flash, a streak of silver went into the gold and the chakras pulsed wildly, notifying the Anbu and the Hokage, who had to work late on paperwork. Sora was kneeling on the floor of Naruto's apartment and he looked up with tears in his eyes. He felt the Anbu and knew he had to get away or he would risk not only detection but also obliteration. Not for himself, but rather for Konoha. He disappeared in a silver lightning bolt just before the Hokage arrived. He started to check the seal and on the boy he saw as a surrogate grandson. Same time, Dragon's Realm. Sora arrived in a large field and collapsed to his knees once again. Around the clearing, dragons of all types were watching him and suddenly a pulse of chakra coincided with an anguished cry from the man. The dragons were scared. This was the man who had not cried for anything in over a millennium. As the chakra subsided, the dragons stared in awe. Sora looked at his scaled hand through his tears and then clenched it. I swear, Naruto, nothing will stop me from helping you become what you were meant to be, brother. Same time, Kyuubi's seal. A large red eye opened and then a malicious chuckle filled the air. Well, Kit. It seems you have someone rooting for you. Things will get interesting from now on. In all of existence there are few beings crazy enough to crash into Kami's court when it is in session. Luckily, or unluckily, Naruto had a friend who would do just that. For Ryu, also known as Ryujin and commander of the Dragon Legions, walked into Kami's court just as Inari was petitioning yet again to have Kyuubi set free. Who would have guessed that Sora would be backing Inari's claim? Author Demon Style. Flashback no Jutsu. The silver chakra materializes in front of the Kyuubi's cage. Sora looked at the great demon and scowled. He knew it wasn't Kyuubi's fault and this was the work of someone powerful. The only question was, who? Well, so it's the famous Ryujin. And here I was wondering who's favoring the kit. This certainly is interesting, Kyuubi said, opening its eyes. You know as well as I that this hatchling deserves a better life. Will you fight him or leave him alone? Sora replied. Kyuubi sighed. I knew I shouldn't have tried intimidating you. I will not fight the kit. Far from it. Should he ask, the whole of my chakra would be available to him should he wish to destroy these vile beings who claim humanity. Sora was rather shocked but replied, so you would help Naruto? Kyuubi chuckled maliciously. Yes, although I would rather not die when he does, nor be bound for all eternity, if what I believe to be happening is in fact happening. Sora smiled. In that case, should you leave the hatchling a gift, I will petition the court to free you. Kyuubi looked shocked and replied, done, I shall leave the boy the Kitsunekin taijutsu style, which relies on speed and debilitating hits, should I be freed. All he will need is to practice it, and he should master it with the filtered information. Sora nodded. It shall be done. I'll be seeing you soon, Kyuubi. And he disappeared from view. Kyuubi smiled. Interesting indeed. I may just leave a small seal to allow me to see this kid's life. Author Angel style. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. To say that the court was surprised would be an understatement. Kami motioned for silence and said, Ryujin, why would you back Inari now? Sora bowed and replied, I struck a deal with Kyuubi regarding his container. I believe it to be best for all parties involved that the contract be broken. The Shinigami stepped forward and replied, I already took payment. Are you suggesting I return Minato Namikaze to life? Sora answered, no my lord, rather release the seal and allow Kyuubi and Naruto Uzumaki's souls to be returned to their own states, not combined. The Shinigami snarled, that was not my agreement with Minato, and I shall not change it because of some half-assed petition. Kami intervened, Ryujin, Shinigami is correct, it is his contract. Sora smirked, then both souls shall be lost to the Shinigami forever. The Shinigami roared, impossible. The only way for that to happen is if Naruto Uzumaki was to have manifested a dragon soul, which would cause both of their souls to tear each other apart in a year. Sora's smile got wider. Well, I guess you're right. After all, Naruto Uzumaki has manifested a golden dragon soul, so I'll just leave and let you deal with the mess. The room stared in shocked silence, the only ones knowing what would happen being Kami and Yami. The Shinigami growled and said, fine, I'll release them, but you owe me Ryujin. Sora's smile was reaching Naruto's patented style, so he stopped and nodded. How about Orochimaru and Madara Uchiha in return for not reaping the kid's soul and any mate he so chooses? The Shinigami smiled and replied, those, Hidan and Kakuzu, and you have yourself a deal. I'll even let you have a mate. Kami knows you need a good woman. If the gods had been any less stuck up, they would have slapped themselves silly. In the meantime, Sora nodded and grabbed Inari before leaving the court. Yami looked at Kami. You think he'll figure out he was just played? She chuckled. He already knows Shinny-kun played him, but he doesn't care. The gods' laughter, Shinigami included, could be heard all the way to hell. Training Ground 7. Naruto had just been blown off and told to continue to do the tree walking exercise, when he had already mastered it 3 days ago, so Kakashi could train the Uchiha. The pink-haired Sakura had, secretly, followed them so she could cheer on her, Sasuke-kun. Naruto was sitting on the ground seething. Naruto never seethed. He was muttering to himself, and this is the scene Sora and Inari come across when they come looking for him. Man, Kakashi-sensei just blew me off again. What do I have to do to get some real trying? Naruto practically yelled. Ask and ye shall receive. Sora said with a smile as he stepped out of the tree line. Who are you? Naruto asked, pointing a finger at Sora. Sora frowned and said, it's bad manners to point, Naruto-kun. By the way, Inari-san, could you please whip up an illusion so that Naruto came in looking sick and went home early for Kakatem? Inari smiled and replied, my pleasure. Sora walked over to Naruto and said, listen Naruto, if you come with me for the day, I promise to teach you a cool jutsu. Sound good? Naruto looked at him in excitement. Ray, really? Kakashi-sensei hasn't taught me anything cause he says my chakra control isn't good enough. Sora frowned and said, well, I'll help you with that as well. My name is Sora Ryu and this is Inari-sama. Inari bowed and Naruto smiled. Okay, I'll go with you, but where to? He asked with his head cocked to the side. Why, to your house, of course. Sora replied. Naruto suddenly became wary of these people. No one wanted to go to his house. The ones that did are usually there to hurt him. He stared at the one named Sora and looked right into his eyes. He say no deception or ill intent, but that didn't mean he couldn't be hiding it. He decided maybe they should go somewhere more public, or at least somewhere he could run from. Nay, why don't we go get some lunch at Ichiraku's instead? Naruto suggested. Sora looked at Inari, who shrugged and replied, sure, why not? Tell you what, I'll even pay for all you can eat ramen if you let me see if there are any seals on you. Naruto, being the dunce that he is, screamed, free ramen. Sure, go ahead, look. And proceeded to sit in front of Sora, who smiled brightly. Sora looked at Inari and gave him a signal to wait. Inari nodded and Sora walked around Naruto to look at the base of his neck. Sora frowned when he saw the prodigy seal. This seal caused the sealed to lose 90% of their brainpower and about 68% of their full potential. It also forces the body to work 3 times harder to gain any type of muscle or for training to take effect. The only plus side is when the seal is released, you gain all of the previous training at about 4 times the amount of work. Basically, you gain 1/4 above what you should have when the seal is released. Sora told Naruto, listen Naruto, I'm going to remove a seal called the prodigy seal from your neck. Inari's eyes widened then narrowed to an almost imperceptible range. Naruto said, what's that gonna do? Sora smiled and said, it'll make you faster and stronger. You want that, don't you? Naruto yelled, yeah, great, do it. Sora nodded and yelled, Fuin Kai. Seal release, slamming his hand into Naruto's neck. Naruto's eyes widen then roll back into his head as he collapses to the ground. His body starts to grow muscles before their eyes. Sora looks at Inari and says, man, that seal was fucked up. It sealed 90% of his potential and all but 5% of his brain. It's amazing he's able to function. Inari shakes his head and replies, humans fear what they cannot comprehend. Shall we release Kyuubi while he is asleep? Sora nods and holds down Naruto while Inari reaches into the seal and says, Kyuubi will not be allowed back into this realm for 1,000 years unless the kid or myself summon him here. That shall be his punishment. Sora agrees and looks down at Naruto, who was starting to wake up. Inari nods and leaves, taking Kyuubi back to his corner of hell. Naruto rubs his head and says, oh, that hurt, man, you could have warned me. Sora chuckles and says, sorry Naruto, so how do you feel? Naruto stops for a second and says, I feel great, kinda like I am flowing with energy and I can finally control it. Sora smiles and thinks, so since his mental capability is up, his control improved, and I'm guessing Kyuubi left a bit of chakra as a parting gift, considering Naruto now has Sannin chakra reserves. This is good. Actually, this is very good. Now I can train his body before the Chunin exams while his clones work on mental knowledge. Naruto looks at Sora and says, so free ramen, right? Sora laughs and replies, right, but listen, before we go I wanna show you something, do you agree? Naruto cocked his head to the side and said, sure, you haven't hurt me yet, so why not? Sora frowned at the yet in his statement but nodded, and he pushed silver chakra into Naruto's head, showing him the last few minutes about the seal and Kyuubi. Naruto's eyes bulged at the info and then he looked at Sora solemnly. So you're going to train me and I'm supposed to just trust you? Naruto asked, nearly shaking in rage. Sora sighed, not at all. I will train you if you want, but the choice is yours alone. If you so choose though, I will explain everything about myself. In the future, when I deem you ready, I will even tell you of your parents. Naruto looked shocked and said, you know who my parents were? Sora nodded, yes, but I want to teach you, but if you agree you will know before these Chunin exams. That I promise, and dragons never break a promise. Naruto smiled and replied, then I guess we better get started, sensei. Sora smiled in reply, and suddenly a loud noise echoed across the grounds. Growl. They both blushed and Sora said, ramen it is. Race ya. Naruto laughed and said, you're on. Naruto and Sora were seated at Ichiraku's and Sora was crying anime tears. He knew Naruto could eat, but damn. Could he eat when he wasn't paying? 39 bowls and going on 40. Sora just sighed and paid for the 40 bowls before motioning to Naruto that they needed to talk. Naruto nodded and said his goodbyes before they took off for Naruto's house. On arrival, Sora quickly ran through some hand seals before ending on Ryu. The room glowed and Naruto realized it was a silencing jutsu. Sora turned to Naruto and said, "Now that that's out of the way, we need to discuss your training." Naruto nodded and replied, "Well, I definitely want to get smarter. Now that I can actually think clearly, I can't believe how much my training was stunted. So the shadow clones in the library would be helpful." Sora agreed, "We will be doing that, and I will be personally overseeing your taijutsu training and physical conditioning so that when the time comes, you can train in the Ryu no Tsurugi style. From your body build, I would say you are built more for speed and agility than power and control. So we will focus on that before I even begin to teach you jutsus. You will have Junin control because as of right now you have about mid-Sanin chakra. Side note, not sure about Tsurugi, believe it means sword, and Sanin is a step below Kage." Naruto sighed and replied, "Hi, sensei. But can I start on the library right now? I'm tired of being called a doby and idiot." Sora nodded, "Okay, 30 clones and make sure they henge into something else. You know the library won't let you in. Also, you're not stupid, you're ignorant, there's a difference." Naruto complied and Sora stared as two used Naruto's sexy jutsu. Naruto scoffed and was about to yell at his now perverted, in his mind anyways, sensei when Sora smiled brightly. Sora said, "Hey hatchling, do you have any idea what you just did?" Naruto shook his head wondering what he was talking about and said, "What do you mean?" "I just used my usual henge." Sora scoffed and said, "No hatchling, you actually changed your to woman with this. Do you know what the benefits of this jutsu are?" Naruto was now confused. "What about it, sensei? I thought we were supposed to change with this technique." Sora stared in amazement. "Hatchling, henge is not an actual transformation. It's a low-level genjutsu. With this technique, you could actually infiltrate rings and such, as a female and change into a male. You could bust a whole ring just by getting by the guards because they think you are actually a woman. If you could reverse the technique, you could even save a woman from being vaginally. Girls would be knocking on your door for this technique." Naruto was dumbstruck and gaped like a fish. Then a slow chuckle filled the room followed by outrageous laughter, and Naruto realized what he could pull off with this technique. He could prank the entire village into thinking Sasuke was gay. He could make Kakashi walk around in a pink tutu. Hell, he could make the Hyuga seem like normal people. He could. Naruto. Geez, prankster at heart, huh? Anyways, listen, get them to the library and make sure 2 of them read up on anatomy so you can complete the jutsu," Sora said. Naruto scratched his head nervously. "Hee, sorry sensei. Couldn't help myself." Sora sighed. "It's fine, but no pranks, you need to keep this low-key until after the Chunin exams. They start in 3 months, so we need to get cracking." He turned to the clones. "Alright, you heard the rules. Naruto, you read the anatomy. The rest of you find books on math, science, strategy and jutsu theory. When you're close to dispelling, choose one to tell Naruto, then wait 3 minutes before dispelling one by one with 1-minute intervals so he doesn't pass out." They nodded and were off. "Okay, now we need to get you some weights and some new clothes. God, orange should have been banned when you bought that." Naruto sighed. "It's the only thing I could afford. Besides, I don't exactly have the money to buy top quality equipment." Sora nodded. "Well, don't worry about that. I'll pay, and in return you'll work your butt off, deal?" Naruto smiled a true smile but asked, You'd really do that for me?" Sora looked at him and remembered what he had seen and said, "That's right, I haven't told you why I'm so interested in you, have I?" Naruto looked confused and Sora sighed, "Sorry Naruto, listen closely. Naruto, you have manifested a golden dragon soul. Only one other in history has ever done this, and it was done over 2 millennium ago during the Great Demon Wars. That person was me, Naruto. Where I manifested my dragon soul through extensive defense of the people I loved against hordes of demons, you manifested it through your indomitable will and kindness to all things. Naruto, you are a far better man than I ever will be, and I wish to tell you that no matter what happens, I will be your brother in arms. When you fight, I fight. When you seek diplomacy, I will help in any way I can. No matter what, I consider you a brother and will always treat you as such, well except in training. Do you understand, Naruto? Naruto stared at this man who claimed to be a brother. Could he accept such a thing? After all his life, all he wanted was someone to accept him. He thought Hana might, but this stranger showed up and promised to always help him. Naruto opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. Oh, how can I trust you? I know you're putting yourself out here, but it still isn't easy for me. Sora nodded and said, I swear on my dragon soul, the most important thing to me, that what I say is the truth, and if I should lie, then let me be struck down by the dragons I command. Naruto's eyes widened and looked around. Since nothing was happening, he bowed his head and said, Thank you. I accept. With that, silent sobs came from Naruto, but Sora hugged him. Shish. Shish. It'll be alright. He rubbed Naruto's back and Naruto cried out loud for the first time in over a decade. For half an hour he sobbed. When it was over, he silently thanked Sora before he went into the bathroom. Shiroi had just woken when she heard the door close and wondered why she could smell something primal in her master's house. So, being the curious fox kid she is, she hopped out of the bed and stretched, then trotted out into the living room. She saw the silver-haired man and she immediately knew he didn't mean her master harm. After all, how could one with such a calmly primal smell do harm? So she trotted up to the man and pawed at his leg until he looked down. Sora smiled brightly seeing the little kid. Well, Shiroi-chan, it's good to meet you. She kept pawing until Sora realized what she wanted. He bent down and picked her up, then started to scratch a particularly sensitive spot behind her ear, and she mewed before purring loudly at his ministrations. When Naruto walked out, he smiled seeing his little friend get along with his new brother. Sorry about her, Sora-ni-san. I swear she's such an attention hog. Naruto said, teasing her. Sora simply chuckled and Shiroi was content to do a repeat of when they first met. She hid in his coat afterwards and Sora just chuckled at the look of annoyance on Naruto's face. Sora said, Okay, so off to Wolf's Claw to get you outfitted and some basic sealing supplies and weights. Oh, and while I like being called brother, don't call me that in public, it'll be too noticeable, okay? Naruto nodded and they left with Naruto locking the door. Wolf's Claw, Higurashi Shop, 1 p.m. Tenten looked up as the door chimed to see Sora, closely followed by Naruto, walk in and start looking around. Since they seemed to know what they were looking for, she left them alone. Although she did wonder who Sora was, considering no one seemed to want to be around the prankster king from hell. She shrugged it off as a quirk and went back to reading Weapon Legacy, a catalog of the rarest and most legendary weapons. Somehow they had gotten a photo of the fabled twin silver dragon scimitars. Sora led Naruto over to the clothes and looked around till he found what he was looking for. He shoved it into Naruto's hands and pointed to the dressing room. Naruto entered and re-emerged looking a new man. Gone was the orange monstrosity, and now Naruto looked like a true ninja. He had on a black muscle shirt with black cargo pants which had golden flames licking his ankles. He had a haori like Sora, but his was black with blue lightning bolts running from near his ankles to connecting above his tailbone, running up his spine and spreading to look like small tree limbs going into his hair, and a bolt running to his shoulder. Tenten caught a look and nearly drooled. That kid was hot when he had some real clothes. Common, he looks just like his dad. Well, without the coat covering half his face. Tenten walked over and said, I didn't want to say anything, but damn, that's better than what you had before. If you don't buy it, I might just give it to you. Sora smiled and said, Good, because I want 8 copies of these clothes done in a month. Is that possible? Tenten nodded and said, Sure, but it'll cost you about $1,000 because those clothes are extra durable and have growth and repair seals on them. Sora's smile got even wider. Even better. We will also need about 30 sets of kunai and shuriken, 5 rolls of ninja wire, 2 cases of exploding tags, 3 sets of beginner's ceiling, and anbushin and forearm guards. Better make that 3 sets of those guards. Oh, and chakra weights, but not the ones that drain chakra. Tenten gasped and said, Yes sir. That'll be about another $2,000 on top cause the Anbu guards are expensive. Sora nodded and replied, Done, glad to have done business with you, miss. Tenten Higurashi, glad to be of service. Tenten replied. Name's Sora Ryu, and this hatchling is Naruto Uzumaki. Sora said, and Naruto smiled again and turned back to the mirror, admiring that he now had good clothes. Thanks Tenten, and you too Sora. I can't believe I used to wear that orange thing. Naruto said. It was now that Shiroi decided to come out from under the pile of orange, and when Tenten saw her, well, let's just say she had a fangirl moment. Kawaii. Tenten screamed and glomped the now happy kid because Tenten was hitting the tender area again. Sora and Naruto shook their heads and allowed Tenten to pamper Shiroi while gathering the requested items. It was rather humorous to see Shiroi in one hand and boxes of things in another. When all was said, done, and paid for, they left the shop with a promise of shopping there again and headed to Naruto's house. When they got there, Naruto unpacked the 2 sets they had in stock and all his equipment and stashed it away. Sora looked at Shiroi and remembered how Naruto met her. Say Naruto, doesn't Shiroi need a checkup? Sora asked. Yeah, probably. Hold on, let me finish and we can go and get some dinner afterwards. Naruto replied. Hey wait, how do you know that? Naruto asked. Sora sighed and said, I don't like doing it, but lying to a dragon is impossible. A branch off that I developed of this ability allows me to read a person's mind for up to a day. However, since you have manifested a dragon soul, it allowed me to see your whole life. This is how I know who your parents are and what happened. I'm sorry if you feel violated, but I was not expecting to see everything, maybe just the last few days. Naruto nodded and replied, well, I guess it's okay. Promise to tell me about your life later. Sora nodded. Then fine, just don't do it again. Sora nodded once more. Sora said, listen, summon a clone and have it dispel your others slowly while we walk. Naruto did so and they started walking to the Inuzuka compound. Inside the clinic, Hana had just finished checking the dogs for the Inuzuka when a man she knew far too well for her own liking walked in. She cursed that the Haomaru triplets were still asleep from their treatments. His name was Shinsuke Yasugawa and he was the son of a civilian council member. He was a short little thing about 5 feet 1 inch and 28 years old, yet he kept coming in every week to harass and ogle her every chance he got. He'd been after her for months now and she was tired of it. Still, he was a customer. She smiled falsely and said, Hello Yasugawa-san, I assume you are here for little Shunshin's checkup. He smiled broadly back and replied, Of course. You're the only one I let take of my little Shunshin-kun, Hana-chan. Gods, she wanted to punch him. What gave him the right to call her Hana-chan? Once again she swallowed her pride to perform her duty as a veterinarian. She kept on smiling and replied, Thank you for your continued business. We appreciate it. It was about this time that Sora and Naruto walked into the clinic. Hana was too busy trying to get away from this guy that she didn't even notice, but Naruto frowned and whispered to Sora, That guy is a councilman's son, Shinsuke Yasugawa. He's been harassing Hana-chan for months now. I'm surprised her feral side hasn't kicked in and ripped him apart. Yes, people, Naruto is finally learning, so get used to him actually being observant. Sora nodded and replied, You still keep that recorder on you? Naruto nodded. Good, keep it going, we may be able to catch him in the act. Naruto smirked devilishly and handed Sora the recorder. Sora made some hand signs and they both disappeared from view under a genjutsu. Hana took the little poodle from Shinsuke and headed towards the back with him in tow. However, neither noticed the slight shimmering in the air where 2 men and a fox kid were following silently. She got to the back, and while she knew the man was ogling everything he could see, she proceeded with her examination. She tried to hurry, but unluckily it seemed little Shunshin had swallowed something solid, and she had to do 4 jutsu just to determine if it was hurtful or not. Lucky for the dog, it wasn't, but Hana had to keep hearing the boring dribble from Shinsui. "So Hana-chan, how is Shunshin-kun?" he asked. "Well, he has a small solid object in his intestinal tract, but it'll pass soon, so don't worry about it," Hana replied. "Well then, how about I pay you for this and we can talk about something a little more personal?" Shunsui replied while getting closer to Hana. He did not phrase this as a question. By now Hana was nervous. The civilian council was well known to take care of its family members, and if she turned him down, her whole clan could suffer the consequences. On the other hand, her feral side was screaming for her to rip his head off because he was nowhere near mate material, let alone alpha status. She decided to go with a mixture and flatly refuse while trying to make sure he didn't tell his dad something stupid. "Please pay and then leave, Yasugawa-san. I have nothing I wish to speak to you personally about," she replied curtly. Now Shunsui Yasugawa was not used to being turned down. As a matter of fact, only one had ignored his advances, and she was standing in front of him. He did not take no for an answer. After all, he was a council member's son. Who would turn down a date with one of the most influential people in town? Now this Inuzuka bitch had not only spurned his advances but turned down his offer. He was pissed. "Now see here," Shunsui said as he grabbed her wrist, "my father is on the council. You have ignored my advances for months now, and when I offer to take you on a date you flat out refuse me. Who do you think you are?" By this time, Naruto was pissed enough to jump in, but Sora kept him back, silently motioning that they needed more evidence. "Advances?" Hana said incredulously. "You did not make advances on me. You ogled me every chance you got. I do not want to date you and I refuse to do so." "Those are my advances," he replied. "You should be honored to be picked by me as a girlfriend." He smirked devilishly. "And, if you do not, then I will just have to tell my dad that you have been overcharging me for my visits. After all, who really knows what goes on back here?" Hana was now officially done with him. "Leave and tell your father whatever you want to. I have done nothing of the sort and you know it. Perhaps, but I will have you, Hana-chan, one way or another," he replied before he found himself hurled down the hall and into the waiting room, which was now occupied by none other than Kuromaru and Sume Inuzuka, the clan head. "What is going on here?" Sume asked. Time warp. 5 minutes earlier. Sume was in her office silently enjoying some jasmine tea when Kuromaru's head popped up and his nose seemed to go into overdrive. "It can't be," Kuromaru said in shock when he realized the scent. He stood up and headed for the door, trying to follow it. "Kuromaru, what is it?" Sume asked, wondering what could make her partner act so strange. "No time, Sume. Follow me. If I'm right, then this village is about to be shaken to its core," Kuromaru said. Sume stood stunned until they both took off, Sume following Kuromaru closely. They eventually found themselves standing in the clinic's waiting room when Shunsui came flying through the hallway. And Sume said, "What is going on here?" Present time. Hana was stunned. She had just thrown a customer almost into her mother. She was gonna get in trouble now, she just knew it. It didn't matter if she had a legitimate reason, her mom would never let her live it down. Suddenly an ambush showed up and said, "Yasugawa-san, your father is looking for you, please head home immediately." The man nodded dumbly, then scooped up his dog and ran like a bat out of hell. As soon as the door was closed, Naruto and Sora walked out of the back. When Kuromaru saw Sora, he froze in shock. Sora stared at this familiar-looking dog until it dawned on him. "Kuro-chan," Sora said incredulously. Sume looked at the man and then busted out laughing, followed soon after by everyone except the old dog, who was now growling at Sora. Wiping a tear from his eye, Sora said, "I'm sorry, it was just too good." "How are you, Kuromaru? All grown up now? I'm sure you have your own litter to worry about." Kuromaru smiled. Well, as best a dog can smile. Indeed, and I am just fine, thank you, Ryujin Dono. By now, the others were confused, although Naruto guessed that was Sora's title. Sora walked up to Kuromaru and knelt, then hugged him. Good to see you, old friend. Likewise. Sum was never a patient woman, and it showed with the throbbing vein on her forehead. Okay, what's going on? First, I find my daughter harassing a customer, then Naruto Uzumaki and some guys show up out of nowhere, and now you're acting like old friends. Kuro explained. Hana was visibly ashamed, but that disappeared when Sora held up a recorder and the conversation was played back for Sum. Let's just say she chose some words that are better for readers over the age of 3000, shall we? Sum sighed and looked at Sora. Thank you for this. I wouldn't want Hana-chan to get in trouble for no reason. Sora smiled and said, Don't thank me. Thank the kid. He's the one who carries a recorder. Naruto smirks and says, Never know what you can find out, and it helps to have proof. Sum smirks and Hana blushes, finally noticing Naruto's new gear. What the hell? I'm blushing. But he's 4 years younger than me. Get it together, Hana. Still, was he always that buff? Sora notices the blush but decides to ignore it. Listen, why don't you close the clinic early and we can talk in your home, because I don't feel entirely comfortable repeating everything out here. Sum nods and says, Very well, but this better be good. Kuromaru chuckles. If he is going to say what I think he's gonna say, trust me, Sum, you'll be gobsmacked by the end of it. That night, 7 p.m. dinner at Inuzuka's. I ordered some steak shish kebabs from Akamichi's. They will be here soon, so can we get this started? Sum asked. Sora looked at Kuromaru. Your honest voice, old friend, what do they think of Naruto? Everyone seemed surprised at the question, but Kuromaru answered anyways. The council can't stand him and will do anything to keep him from having any type of friendship. Hana risked her livelihood to treat the animals he brought in. Sum has always supported him in votes, but she is always in the minority. Sum and Hana looked outraged that he gave away such info so willingly. Calm yourselves, ladies. Thank you, Kuro. I know it wasn't easy to do that. After a nod from Kuro and glares from the women, Sora sighed. Well, I will be honest with you, my name is Sora Ryu. My title is Ryujin, as Kuro said, and I need your solemn promise that nothing said after this will be heard from those outside this room, and that includes your Hokage and council. They looked skeptical at first, but Kuromaru spoke up. Promise him, ladies. He will tell you everything. When it is done, you will know why he swore you to secrecy. They looked at Sora, then at Kuromaru again, and sighed. We promise on our fangs and claws we shall not breathe a word of this to others. The doorbell rang and the food was delivered and served. As they munched, Kuromaru looked at Sora, who put up the silencing seal, nodded, and began to explain everything from the time he arrived in Konoha to his seeing of Naruto's memories and how screwed up his learning was, to his meeting them in the clinic, surprising even Naruto. Sum sighed. That is a lot to take in. If Kuromaru hadn't backed you up, I wouldn't believe you. Sora nodded. I know, but believe me, I would not lie to friends of Kuromaru's. Hana looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, is what Sora-san said true? Were you really under that seal, and deliberately not taught? Naruto looked down and then replied, Hi Hana-chan. Luckily Sora-ni-san found me, and we have begun to reverse the effects. Sora looked at Sum. Is it true that the civilian council is keeping women away from Naruto so he won't be able to have children? Naruto looked shocked. Hana hung her head in shame and actually felt tears welling up at that, though. She had known her mother told her to keep her distance, but she didn't know the council was forcing her hand. That was horrible. Sum sighed and her eyes glistened. Yes, they are. They told all the clan heads that if any woman got close to the demon brat, she wouldn't live to see another sunrise with the ability to produce children. They supposedly have Danzo backing them, but no one can prove it. Sora scowled and Naruto looked close to tears along, while Hana was outright crying. Hana sniffed and looked at Sum. Why didn't you tell me? You just told me to stay away. Naruto stiffened, and when he looked at Hana thought, so she's just like them too, huh? Guess I can't blame her. Soom's eyes were still down when she replied, I knew you liked to see his smiling face every day and he always brought those animals to the clinic. Personally, I was hoping he could brighten your day and perhaps you could return the favor. Hana scowled, he does brighten my day. As for the council, I wouldn't have cared. Naruto's probably the kindest man I know. He doesn't deserve to be treated this way, Mom. Sora was smirking, thinking, well, just maybe there's hope for you yet, hatchling. Naruto stared in shock at Hana's proclamation. She just stood up for me. Did I misjudge her? Maybe I was right the first time. When Hana looked at Naruto, she got the first look at Naruto's true smile. While not as wide as his famous foxy grins, this one caused her heart to practically melt in her ribcage. Thank you, Hana-chan, Naruto said. If Hana had been capable of coherent thoughts at the time, she might have blushed instead of just smiling goofily instead. Sora chuckled and Soom smiled, thinking, if I play my cards right, I may have little dragonaires and dragonettes running around. She glanced at Kuromaru, who had a similar gleam in his eye. Sora cleared his throat. Well, since we are in agreement, how about we make plans to take care of this little situation? Soom looked intrigued. And what might your plan be? Sora smiled widely. In 3 months, the Chunin exams are being held. I am training Naruto and he will be ready. During the 1-month break, I will be taking the hatchling to train in the dragon arts, among other things, for 4 years. Naruto stared. 4 years. I'll never make it back in time. Sora chuckled. Normally no. But where we are going, it will be 4 years and it will be 1 month here. Meaning you will age 4 years but everyone else will remain the same. Kuromaru nodded. So dimension hopping. Sora nodded and Hana said, so when Naruto-kun comes back he will be my age. Soom couldn't pass it up. So it's Naruto-kun now, Hana-chan. They chuckled as Naruto and Hana turned beet red. Sora sighed. Yes, Hana, he will be. In any case, do you accept this, Naruto? If you do, when you return, your heritage can be claimed. No, I will not tell you who it is yet, but when Naruto learns it I will relay the info if he so wishes. Naruto nodded. They already know everything else and yes, I accept. Sora stood and said, then Naruto, we best be going. And to answer your question, Soom-san, yes, his heritage is that important. Ciao. Sora and Naruto disappeared in a silver lightning bolt and Hana said, well, at least things will be interesting in 3 months. Soom nodded and headed towards her room. Indeed, and Hana. Hana looked at her mother. Yes. Soom said, I approve if you want to. If not, well, I'm sure he'll make another woman happy. Maybe I can get him myself. And she laughed all the way to her room. Hana blushed at what her mom said but was thinking, hell no, you old biddy. Whoa, calm down, wild side. Still, maybe letting my wild side get near Naruto would be fun. Hana chuckled pervertedly and wiped some blood from her nose before turning in for the night. Naruto was awoken at 5 a.m. by a bucket of cold water and his mattress being flipped. He gurgled and spit the water out, then shot up staring at his assaulter venomously. What the hell was that for Aniki? Naruto roared. It's time for training, hatchling, and you are late. Sora replied. Naruto grumbled something about sadistic brothers when he smelled eggs and bacon in the kitchen. He looked at Sora, who nodded to the bathroom before returning to the kitchen. Naruto performed the morning rituals and, after getting dressed in his new attire, he made his 30 clones and sent them to the 24-hour library. He sat at the table and looked hungrily at the breakfast that was almost ready. Now Sora was no world-class cook, but when all you eat is ramen, well, let's just say Naruto devoured the breakfast at a pace that made Hiraishin look slow. Sora chuckled and said, alright, follow me, we are going to training ground 8. I scoped it out yesterday and found no one uses it. Plus it's near your team's training ground, so less time moving from one to the other. Naruto nodded, and after Shiroi jumped into Naruto's haori and snuggled herself into a rather large pocket on the side of his leg. Luckily it was early morning, so no one saw the two jumping across rooftops to get there. Sora turned and said, "Okay, Naruto. Here's how this will work. We will start with some stretches to get the muscles warmed up. Following that, you will run around Konoha's outer wall for 5 laps. Then 50 push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and squats. Then 20 minutes of meditation. This will let you relax and increase your chakra control. You should be done by 7. At this time, I will decide if you join your team or if you send a reinforced Kage Bunshin in your place while I train you personally. Luckily, since I am a demon hunter by nature, I know all about the Kitsune Ken style and I can correct your flaws." Naruto looked shocked at this news. "But sensei, you didn't tell me you hunt demons." Sora was a little taken aback. "Oh man, I really need to explain everything. Stupid procrastination." He sighed. "Right. Well, you see, dragons are the natural guardians of heaven. Contrary to popular belief, there are no battle angels. They are all messengers for the gods. Dragons are the fighters for heaven and the guardians of balance. We do not allow the scale to tip too far to the evil nor the good side. In reality, my title Ryujin means the dragons chose me as their commander and, as such, I have a say in Kami's council. Though I rarely use it, as a default dragons side with Kami unless there is a major struggle, in which case I intervene." Naruto nodded. "Makes sense. Without light, there is no shadow. Without shadows, you cannot see the light. Not to mention you being on the council is kinda a no-brainer." Sora smiled. "Very good, Naruto. And the position is more for show, but I still have weight when I need it. Now, as I was saying, if you don't go to your meetings, then we will train in your style till lunch with 10-minute breaks now and again. After lunch, you make about 300 clones and we will work on chakra control. At the end of the day, I will determine if you learn a new jutsu or not. If you go with your team, when you return we will train your taijutsu while your clones do chakra control. Is this understood?" Naruto readily agreed with a loud, "Hi sensei." Sora chuckled as Naruto attached his weights and, after reading the instructions, added enough weight to make them about 20 pounds on his feet and 15 for each his hands. Sora shook his head as Naruto got to work. He suddenly remembered he had an errand he wanted to run but had one last thing to tell Naruto. Sora walked over and said, "Listen Naruto, today I want you to join your team. If you don't get training, practice walking on water out of view of your teammates with Kage Bunshin and meditate. After all, I know you can hide from Kakashi. You have a reputation for hiding from even Anbu." Naruto beamed and said, "Hi sensei. What will you be doing?" Sora smiled and replied, "Seeing someone who needs to be taught a lesson." Naruto was worried for a moment and said, "You aren't going to hurt anyone, are you?" Sora shook his head and replied, "No, maybe just scare him a little." Naruto chuckled and said, "Okay then, have fun." And took off for his laps. "Now it's time to see an old man about what is rightfully Naruto's," Sora said as he headed to the Inuzuka compound. He would need some help to convince the old Kage he was real. Hokage office. 7 a.m. Sarutobi Hiruzen was many things. Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, sensei to the Sannin, student to the Shoin Nadaime Hokages, and Kami no Shinobi among many others. But even he, being all that he is, has never defeated the greatest enemy of the Kages. Paperwork. Even though he had arrived not but 10 minutes ago, his desk seemed to be full of the damn forms and files he needed to fill out. Right now he was cursing the Nadaime Hokage for giving him this job. Little did he know his greatest trial was approaching fast, and he could only hope that the man became his ally, and not his worst nightmare. Sora had already fetched both Kuromaru and Tsume to back his story and claims. He was constantly holding back his killer intent, ki from now on, when he thought about all the Sandaime should have done for Naruto and yet never did. Naruto should never have been denied his heritage. The legacy he carries is large and Sora dearly hoped the old Kage had very good reasons for his actions. If not, then may Kami have mercy on his soul, for Ryujin takes no prisoners. Kuro and Sume were following Sora and both were inwardly praying that the old cage could withstand Sora's wrath. Sume was hoping that this silver-haired titan could finally reignite the fabled will of fire in the Sandaime. She had watched as he sat back and gave into old age and was far too tired to run this village with the grip necessary to make the politics disappear. Maybe, just maybe, Sora could make the cage see just what he had allowed to happen. Sora walked into the Hokage tower and right up to the secretary. "I need to speak with your Hokage, please," he said. The secretary looked up and said, "I'm sorry, but no one is allowed to see the Hokage without an appointment. If you need one, we have an opening in 2 months." Sora scowled and said, "Okay, then I guess I'll just do this." He held his hand out to the right and stuck his forefinger and middle finger out, Byakurai. An arc of silver lightning burned a hole in the wall and the secretary looked shocked. He leaned onto the desk. "Now, miss, that was only at 10% of my power. May I have that appointment now?" The secretary nodded dumbly and paged the Hokage. Sume was slightly turned on, thinking, "Damn. If that was 10%, I wonder what else he can do." As they walked up the stairs, Sume was curious why no Anbu came to the site. Sora noticed her perplexed state and said, "If you're worrying about Anbu, don't. I cast a simple silencing jutsu right before Byakurai." Sume simply nodded and they walked into the office. When the Sandaime heard he had visitors, he was hoping they would distract him from this dreaded paperwork. Imagine his surprise when one of his visitors is none other than the Inuzuka clan head, Sume herself. He wondered who the silver-haired man was idly but mostly brushed him off, anything to get out of paperwork for a few minutes. "Ah, Sume-san, to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?" he asked. Sora stepped forward. "I am the reason for her visit, Worm. Please dismiss your 2 Anbu. I have sensitive information I know you don't want to be heard by fools." One of the Anbu stepped forward. "Who are you? And what gives you the right to call our Hokage a worm?" Kuromaru growled, "You misunderstand. He called Hokage-sama a Wyrm as in a dragon elder, not worm as in the dirt eater." Sortobi waved off the Anbu and, while disgruntled, they left with a quiet shunshin. Sora ran through some hand seals and the room glowed blue then silver and settled back into a bright room. Sarutobi recognized the silencing seal, but what was that silver light? Sora sat in a chair in front of the Hokage and Sume silently took the one next to him. "Well, that takes care of the fools now, Sarutobi. I respect you for your duty to this village, that is why I called you Worm. But you and I have a lot to discuss and it all concerns one Namikaze Naruto, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze." The Sandaime was sweating bullets and looked pale as a ghost. Sume stared gobsmacked that she hadn't figured out the pup's sire when it practically stared her in the face. Sarutobi was mentally freaking. How the hell does he know that? Only myself and Jiraiya know of his heritage. Did someone connect the dots? Did Iwa find out? Oh god, what if he told Naruto? Before you have a heart attack, I haven't told anybody. The Sandaime breathed a sigh of relief, yet. Sarutobi eyed the man before him and finally spoke. "How did you come by this information?" "Only 2 people in this world know that secret." Sora sighed. "True, only 2 people in this world know it. But whoever said I am from this world?" Sora really did not feel like being interrupted, so he quickly explained his history and his status. He left out Naruto's involvement for now. Sarutobi looked like a fish out of water when he was done. Luckily, Sume had run interference and confirmed everything. Sarutobi sat silent for a few minutes before looking at Sora and replying, "That is quite a story. However, you still haven't told me why you're here, or for that matter how you figured out Naruto's heritage." Sora sighed. "I left out Naruto because I wanted to speak with you about your actions, rather your inaction, concerning Naruto." Sarutobi was not happy to say the least. "Now see here, Naruto has grown up to be a fine young man." "What are you implying?" Sora growled out. "How about the fact Naruto was beaten at least bi-weekly every year since he was 7? How about, Instead of a birthday with presents and cake, he gets stones and broken limbs. How about the fact that Naruto has the maturity of a 7-year-old, yet nothing seems wrong to you? Sum hand inched a hand slowly over to Sora and looked at him to calm down. After all, the Sandame was white at the key Sora was putting off. When he finally regained his composure, Sora looked at the still recovering Sandame and said, "How many seals should there be on Naruto?" Sarutobi was surprised at this question and replied, "Only one. The Shiki Fuian that holds the Kyuubi at bay." Sora wanted to groan and growl again. Wrong, there were 3 seals on Naruto. A protege seal and an additional suppression seal for his mind incorporated into it. Of course the Shiki Fuian is still there. Sarutobi was shocked. Protege seal. Is what this man saying true? Have I truly ignored Naruto this much? Sora, I have a request to make. The Sandame said softly. Sora looked intrigued. Yes. The Sandame put his hands together under his chin and replied, "Tell me everything you know about Naruto. In return, I will do whatever you ask so long as it does not hurt Konoha." Sora looked pleased. In that case, the favor I want is to have Naruto's heritage announced at the Chunin exam finals after their fights. In addition, any scrolls or money he has, I want them. Now. Sarutobi looked surprised but said, "I can't just give that to anyway, but the first part shall be done if Naruto is strong enough." Sora nodded and said, "After my tale, you will see, I can be trusted with Naruto's heritage. In addition, I plan on telling Naruto his parentage during the break." Sarutobi nodded. If this man broke the protege seal, then Naruto should be far smarter and more mature. Hopefully he won't hate me for keeping it from him. Sora proceeded to tell Sarutobi about Naruto's seal, what it did, how the Kyuubi was gone, and Naruto's Dragon Soul status along with his acceptance of Sora's brotherhood. Throughout it all, Sarutobi remained calm and was honestly surprised many times. He always knew the boy was destined for greatness. Sum was thinking about Naruto himself and hoping her daughter didn't screw up her chance with him. Then she got a devilish smirk. Finally I can let Hana have what she wants. Not to mention I can help the pup as I should have all this time. All I have to do is ask Sora to take care of it." The Sandime sighed. "I see. First of all, thank you Sora-san. You have done more for the boy in 2 days than I have all his life." Sora shook his head. "While I may have been able to help, he wouldn't be so receptive if you had not paid attention to him like you have." Sum cleared her throat. "Sora, may I ask for a favor as well?" Sora looked confused but nodded and replied, "Sure, you have done me a service, so it is only right I do the same." "What is it you need?" Sum looked at him and said, "Protect Hana." Sora was a little surprised but replied, "You gave her permission to seek Naruto, didn't you?" Sum nodded and smiled. "If she lets him go, I may just have to snatch him up." While the Sandame looked a little revolted, Sora just chuckled, "Very well. But that reminds me, Worm, did you know the Civilian Council and Danzo have been trying to keep the clans from being near Naruto?" The Sandame was surprised, although he didn't show it. "No. I always assumed they stayed away as a precaution to what the civilians would say. What does Danzo have to do with this?" "Hey, hook, line, and sinker Hokage-sama," thought one feral lady. Sum replied, "He backed the council with not only economic bans but also threatened any female near Naruto having their reproductive organs removed." Sarutobi was astonished. "They what?" He roared, and suddenly Sum could barely breathe with the key coming from the old man. Yet, she took barely any notice of that. All she saw was the fire burning in Sarutobi's eyes. "Hey, the Kami no Shinobi is back. Run in fear, you little cowards." Suddenly, the desk buzzed and the secretary said, "Excuse me, Hokage-sama. But it seems there is a council meeting being called into attendance." Sarutobi stared at the buzzer for a moment, then hit the button and said, "Very well, tell them I will be there shortly and with Sum-san and a guest." He looked up at them and said, "Now is the time to fix these mistakes." I am tired of this position. Once more, I will stand for Naruto, but soon I will choose a successor. Thank you, both of you. I promise I will make it up to you, and to Naruto. He walked over to the fourth picture and put a combination in to open the safe behind it. Taking the scrolls, he handed them to Sora. Please take care of him. I hope he can forgive me. Sora smiled and took the scrolls. He never blamed you. Personally, I don't think he ever will. Sarutobi smiled, thank you, and motioned for them to follow as the seals dropped down. Training ground 7:10 a.m. Naruto had been waiting for his sensei with his team. He had already created high clones who were in another clearing working on the tree climbing with leaf balancing and the water walking basic. When he had arrived, he had greeted Sakura and Sasuke in his usual fashion. Of course he didn't ask Sakura on a date. That didn't stop her from attempting to hit him for being a minute late. He was beginning to wonder if he had head trauma to have even considered liking this girl. Of course his crush died when he met Hana-chan. Naruto was meditating when Kakashi showed up. He got up from his position under a tree and walked to join his teammates. When he got there, Kakashi smiled and said, "All right team, we won't be going on a mission today, instead we will be training." Sakura, do tree walking until you're tired. Naruto, same thing but add leaves, it increases difficulty. Sasuke, you're with me for some more jutsus. Naruto spoke up, nay, Kakashi-sensei, why can't I learn a new jutsu? Sakura screeched, Naruto baka don't question Kakkashi-sensei. After the three males had recovered from their hearing loss, Kakashi said, Naruto, your chakra control isn't good enough. Improve on that and maybe I'll teach you the next step for control. Naruto looked downcast, but not for the reason they all thought. Hi sensei, may I go somewhere else to train? I don't wanna bother Sakura. Kakashi was a little surprised but nodded and Naruto walked off. Sakura was a little impressed but just dismissed it as an attempt to get on her good side. Sasuke just HN'd with Naruto. 10:10 a.m. Naruto was mercilessly punching a tree. Stupid Kakashi-sensei, he doesn't even watch me train and yet he claims my chakra control isn't good enough. His hands were starting to bleed but he didn't care. He was pissed and he needed to get it out of his system. Half an hour later he had stopped. His hands were still healing fast. Seems Kyuubi left that little ability too. Shiroi jumped out of her pocket and mewed at Naruto, who looked down and then smiled softly. He laid down on the ground and Shiroi gently licked the wounds before snuggling up to him. Naruto let his hands heal before standing up and starting to go through the beginning katas for Kitsune-ken. Shiroi just snuggled into the warm spot he left behind under the tree. Right now he was thinking over his training schedule when one of his clones dispelled from the library. Seals seem interesting. He made 5 more clones and instructed 4 of them to go read up on seals and 1 to go get some basic sealing supplies from Wolf's Claw. Council chamber. Same time. Sarutobi, Tsume, Kuromaru and Sora walked in. Everyone was there from the elders and Danzo to the clan heads, Inoichi Yamanaka, Choza Akamichi, Shikaku Nara, Shibi Aburame, and Hiyashi Hyuga, to the civilian council members among which were Satsumi Haruno, mother to Sakura and Demon Hater, and Jiroa Yasugawa along with his son Shinsui. Surprisingly, not if you were Tsume and Sora, Hana was there as well. Already Tsume knew what the meeting was for. It was a good thing she had taken the recorder from her house when she left. Homura stood up. Hokage-sama, who is that and why is he in this council meeting? Tsume simply looked at her and replied, he is here as a witness to the reason this council was convened and his name is Sora Ryu. Sora bowed out of respect to the ninja council but completely ignored the civilians. The elders noticed this while Danzo thought, I haven't met this man before. What could he be doing here? Tsume and Sarutobi took their seats while Sora simply stood underneath Tsume's seat. The civilians were a little nervous because the Hokage was here and they couldn't outright punish Hana and the Inuzukas. Jiro stood and said, "We are convened today to bring forth charges on the Chunin Hana Inuzuka for physically assaulting Shinsui Yasugawa." Sarutobi looked surprised. He knew Hana and her reputation for being a calm and caring person, despite her Inuzuka blood, was almost legendary amongst the medic nin. She was specifically a veterinarian, but she knew enough to heal most basic wounds for humans as well. So just assaulting someone out of the blue was highly unlikely. Shinsui was smiling like a madman. "Now you bitch, I'll get my revenge and I'll even make sure your little demon boy is punished as well." Sarutobi sighed and said, "Very well, would Shinsui please give his version of the story?" Shinsui nodded and stood up. "Well, Hokage-sama, every week I take my dear little Shunshin to the Inuzuka compound to have Hana-san check him for any problems. I often noticed one Uzumaki Naruto present in the clinic, but always dismissed it. Obviously this did not sit well with the civilians and the ninjas were annoyed at the obvious tactic." Sum replied, "It is well known young Uzumaki-san brings wounded animals for treatment. We Inuzuka are happy to help any wounded animal no matter who brings it in." Shinsui inwardly scowled but continued, Gomen. In any case, I brought in Shunshin for his regular checkup. During this checkup, I noticed Hana-san seemed to stay closer than normal to me and was checking me out. I assumed she would be pleased if I asked her on a date. When I did so, she blatantly told me she did not like me and proceeded to beat me up and throw me out. I wish to press charges of assault because of the injury I received and compensation for my overcharge I believe have been paid for her personal grudge towards me. Hey, that oughta show you. It's just your word against mine and I know I will win. Once I do, I'll drop the charges in return for a night with you." The civilians seemed to believe his story while the ninjas, trained in reading a person's body language, were rather wary of how he guarded himself. Sarutobi nodded and said, "Thank you. Now would Hana-san please give her version of the story?" Hana nodded and stepped up. She proceeded to tell the true story and how he had leered at her for the last couple of months but has always ignored it as to be professional. The ninjas were pleasantly surprised to see such control and silently applauded her self-control. This didn't change the minds of the civilians and the elders were not happy that Naruto was close to anyone, especially this woman. Danzo was thinking, "I need to eliminate this girl. When the demon grows up, I can just capture him and have some of my female root rape him to give me some demonic offspring." Sarutobi simply looked impassively. There was not yet enough evidence in the claims. Sora cleared his throat and said, "Hokage-sama. If I may." Sarutobi nodded and remembered Sum's earlier words, "I wonder what she meant by that." Neither of them had mentioned Sora in the room with them. Sora stood and said, "Well, to put it bluntly, Shinsui lied through his teeth and everything Hana said was true. I myself arrived just after he did. Now one little fact about me, I despise rapists above any and all beings besides child molesters, which is currently tied at the top of my shit list." He proceeded to explain everything he saw under the genjutsu and even asked Sum to play the recording so as to back his story, although he conveniently left out Naruto. Needless to say, the ninja believed him. Some of the more logical civilians did, although it helped that Yasugawa was an economic opponent of theirs, as did Sarutobi. After all, why would a 3,000-year-old being lie about something as trivial as this? Sarutobi sighed and said, "The charge are dismissed and I find in favor of Hana Inuzuka in the amount for $2,000 in reparations for this farce of a trial." Most people nodded, although a few seemed a bit miffed. Shinsui was about to open his mouth when he was promptly silenced by his father lest he bring more reparations in the way of their family. Sarutobi looked at Sum and nodded, then looked over the members of the council. Everyone was wondering why he didn't dismiss the council and call it a day. It was well known he hated council meetings. However, seeing as they were still in session, Haruno decided to take care of the demon's whore. Wow, she's deluded, nay. Hana-san. Hana looked at the speaker. One Satsumi Haruno, Uzumaki Naruto is well known to prank any place he comes across. Why would you allow him to enter your establishment? Sora scowled at this, though no one paid attention to him. All eyes were on Hana, as what she said could very well ignite a civil unrest close to war. Inwardly, Hana was seething. She didn't need a reason to let Naruto-kun into the clinic when he had an injured animal. She calmly replied, every time he arrived at the clinic, he had an injured animal. They ranged from birds to anything as large as small dogs and cats. She knew better than to mention the fox kits he picked up. Satsumi looked at her and replied, did it ever occur to you that he may be the one harming the animals? Once again Hana and Sora were scowling along with the sandaime. Hana thought, that slut. She knows nothing of Naruto yet accuses him of harming innocent animals. Hana barely held her anger at that and replied heatedly, no it didn't. The injuries were consistent with ninja tools and he has been bringing them in since before was old enough to attend the academy. In addition, Naruto-kun never had any injuries himself that would signify a struggle with animals. Sora silently signaled the Hokage to wait before interrupting. Sarutobi inwardly smirked, maybe I can get this to my advantage. Satsumi smirked and Hana knew she'd made a mistake, so Naruto-kun never had animal-related injuries. Why is it you refer to the dem I mean Uzumaki-san in such an informal manner? Hana and Sum were silently praying for help and apparently Kami heard it. Sarutobi spoke up, is there a problem if she wishes to address Naruto-kun in an informal manner Haruno-san? Satsumi's smile vanished and she replied, of course not Hokage-sama. Sarutobi wasn't going to let her get away with that. Truly. It does not have anything to do with this law I have in my hand. Law 3179 of the village hidden in the leaves. If any woman is to become romantically involved with one Uzumaki Naruto, they are to report to the council to 1. Have their ovaries removed, or 2. Any and all children born to these couples must turn over the child to the state to ensure that it is a stable human child. If it is not, the state has every right to confiscate and hold the child until such time as it is not deemed a threat. See, the strange thing is, I did not sign this law and as such it has no place in this country. Perhaps you can tell me where it came from Haruno-san. By now the council was sweating bullets. Anbu, Sarutobi said as two showed beside him, take Haruno-san to Ibiki and find out who else was in on this. They nodded and grabbed the now screeching Haruno and dragged her off. The clan heads were visibly pleased. He lit the law on fire. Now any and all attempts to hinder Uzumaki Naruto will stop, and if I find even a glimpse that you are doing so, I will remove your position from this council and you will serve jail time. Sarutobi said, blasting his key. Meeting adjourned. I hope you have learned your lesson. Sarutobi quickly made his way back to the office and sat down only to look up and see Hana, Sum, Kuromaru, and Sora staring at him. Thank you Hokage-sama for your help back there. Hana said, bowing. Sarutobi simply smiled. No problem Hana-san, just make sure Naruto gets enough attention from now on. Nay. The blush and sudden, eep, not unlike a certain Hyuga, caused a smile to grace his face. Sora smiled and said, now that that's taken care of, I will be taking my leave. Worm, please note that I will give Naruto only the Rasengan at the moment. However, he will be learning elemental manipulation and summoning before the exam. Sarutobi looked a little worried. Are you sure? Summoning is a difficult. Sora shook his head. With his current chakra, he could summon me twice over. They looked puzzled at this and Sora chuckled. Technically I am the boss summon for the dragons, however unless he pushes almost double the amount for Gamabunta, he will get the original boss summon. They looked gobsmacked. Naruto had enough chakra to summon Gamabunta 4 times. Of course he can't fully access it yet. He's at about half, but over the next year he will get the rest. They relaxed slightly. In any case I'll be going, Yane. And he disappeared in a silver lightning bolt. They shook their heads and the Inuzukas took their leave, letting the sandaime to deal with his dreaded paperwork. Ichiraku's 1 p.m. Naruto was sitting quietly enjoying his ramen when a silver flash appeared next to him. Oi, Ji-chan, 3 bowls of chicken ramen. Sora shouted. He looked at Naruto and saw his slightly downcast look. Why so glum, Naruto? He asked. Naruto looked at his brother and sighed, then began to explain his day while feeding some crackers to Shiroi. Sora was not pleased with Kakashi. He knew that Naruto had abnormally high chakra pools, how else could he make thousands of shadow clones? Sora sighed and said, "Listen, Naruto, I have 3 jutsu I want to teach you today." Naruto instantly perked up. 3 new jutsu. Sora nodded his head and said, "Naruto, finish your ramen, then we will go and train. I will teach you Shunshin, summoning, and the last one will be a surprise." Yada. Naruto said and wolfed down his ramen before Shiroi jumped in his pocket and he grabbed his brother before dashing down the street at top speeds. Training Ground 8. 1:30 p.m. Alright, Naruto, here's the hand signs for Shunshin. Sora said as he slowly did the 3 needed seals. Now you need to properly visualize the space you are going to before activating the jutsu. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes before imagining the place about 10 meters from where he was. Surprisingly, he did very well and got halfway there. Alright, Naruto, keep it. Jutsu is more about practice and memorization than anything else. By 5 p.m., Naruto could do the Shunshin. All he needed to do now was perfect it. Sora pulled out a large old scroll. Okay, Naruto, this is the summoning contract for the dragons. Now be warned, the boss dragon is going to test you. If you pass, you can summon them, but if you summon them for anything other than training or fighting, then most will be displeased. The just hatched hatchlings are good for messages though, and it does help them to learn to fly. Naruto nodded and knew he had to be respectful. He signed it and looked at Sora expectingly. Sora nodded, walked up to Naruto and grabbed his shield before they were teleported almost 30 miles from Konoha. Alright, Naruto, the signs for this jutsu are as follows. Now put about 3/4 of your chakra into it and you should get the boss summon. Naruto nodded and with a yell of Kuchio's no jutsu summoning technique, there was a huge cloud of smoke about twice the size of Gamabunta before it cleared. Before Sora stood Ryukin, the ancient black dragon of the West asterisk. Naruto was on his nose and the giant reptile narrowed his eyes at Naruto before lowering his head and tipping it to the side, making Naruto fall off. Ryujin, surely this hatchling is not the bearer of the dragon soul you spoke of. He is puny. You said yourself that he was a greater man than any thought possible. Sora was inwardly a little pissed at Ryukin, but Naruto stared in wonder. Ni-san, did you really say that? Naruto asked. Sora smiled. Of course I did, Naruto. Ryukin, I did not summon you. Naruto here did. Ryukin was a little doubtful but decided to simply believe him. After all, this was Ryujin, one of the few beings in existence that could beat the snot out of him. Very well, then I will test the boy's spirit. Ryukin bent down and gently touched the tip of his nose to Naruto's head before Ryukin's eyes glazed over as he stared into Naruto's soul. Suddenly he recoiled and roared loudly. Senko. Flash asterisk asterisk, he said as he blinked, trying to rid his eyes of the spots. My boy, you have proven yourself beyond worthy. I cannot even look at your soul directly lest I risk blindness. Sora has said you had a dark childhood with no one to call your family. Know this, Ryukin said, bringing his head to ground level and staring directly into Naruto's eyes, a sign of submission I might add. Dragons are now your family, and should you ever need us, call us at your will. We will fight, live, and die alongside you from this day forth. Naruto smiled brightly and it seemed to be infectious as it spread to the other members, and soon all 3 dragon brothers, in soul anyways, were laughing heartily. I must go, Naruto, but when you seek training for your sage mode, seek me out. I will be happy to train you. Sora smiled and said, well, that's over, now let's get onto that last jutsu, shall we? Naruto nodded, his smile never leaving his face. This jutsu is called Rasengan, now the first step. The last month for Naruto has been both grueling and satisfying. He was now at least low to mid chunin in his taijutsu, something he was very proud of. He has read basically the entire shinobi library and could answer questions that would make Sakura feel like she knew nothing. Of course, the biggest improvement was his chakra control. Since he rarely went to team meetings anymore, he simply sent his reinforced cage Bunshin instead. He trained almost non-stop with clones on it. He has completed the tree and water walking exercises as well as putting 20 leaves on his body for both of those. He still had slight trouble with Senbon balancing but had Kunai balancing in rotation to an art form. Of course, training for the Rasengan almost required him to be an expert in rotation. He currently had about high Chunin nearing low Junin chakra control. He didn't learn any more jutsu aside from Shunshin and summoning. Surprisingly, Naruto seemed to be more than adept at seals. Already, he could make modified explosive notes. However, he needed better instruction to advance, and unfortunately seals were not in Sora's repertoire of Abelites. Oh, did I mention Naruto can use a one-handed Rasengan in under 5 seconds? That's right, no pansy-ass shadow clone wastage. Sora had been ruthless in his taijutsu training. Naruto had such a screwed-up sense of the basic academy stance that he spent the first week and most of the second fixing his forms. Sora left Naruto by himself for most of his other training, seeing as he didn't need a watchdog. Unfortunately, with all this training, Naruto hadn't seen his friends for a while, and this included Hana. Sora knew Naruto needed a break and Sora could use a few days to set his next step into motion. So he called Naruto over and had him sit down. Listen, Naruto, you have done remarkably well in this past month. As a reward, I want you to treat yourself to ramen today and then spend the next 2 days relaxing before we continue again, alright? Sora said. Naruto nodded and smiled brightly. Good. Now when we start back up, your taijutsu training will continue as planned, but your chakra control will lessen slightly. Instead, for 2 hours a day. Oh, sorry, here, take this card and pump some chakra into it, please. Sora said kindly. Naruto simply took the card and pumped some chakra as he was asked, and Sora's grin nearly split his face in half. Naruto's card crumpled so hard on itself it was only about as big as a grape. Hee, well boy, you have an insanely high lightning affinity. Now luckily Naruto had read up on all the elemental compositions, so he didn't need an explanation. We will be spending 2 hours a day on lightning manipulation and another 2 on evasive techniques while your clones work on control, understand? Naruto nodded and Sora shooed him off. Naruto hopped up and bolted for Ichiraku's at a speed comparable to Sasuke's. Kakashi, I don't know why you ignored this Genuise, but it's your loss and my gain. Sora thought, smiling. Ichiraku ramen stand. 12 p.m. Naruto was busily slurping down his ramen when Team 8 walked into the stand. So first, we have the stoic Aburame Shino. He doesn't talk much, but he was always a logical and loyal friend. Next, we have the loudmouthed Kiba Inuzuka, brother to Hana and an old prankster buddy of Naruto's. He was followed by Hinata Hyuga. Now she used to have a mammoth-sized crush on Naruto, but luckily, or unluckily depending on who you ask, Kurenai broke her crush and in doing so was able to drop her stuttering to only around her father. They all walked in and sat down before ordering. Shino was staring at the man next to him. Naruto looked up and Shino and they nodded to each other before returning to their meals. Hey, who's that you're nodding to, Shino? Kiba yelled. Shino simply replied, Naruto Uzumaki. Now that the rest of Team 8 took a good look, they noticed the bright orange wearing idiot was gone and they seemed to have a calm and collected shinobi in their presence. No way. Naruto always wears orange and yells everything he says. Kiba said. Anyo. Shino is right, Kiba. That is Naruto-kun, he just changed his clothes. Look at his whiskers. Hinata said softly. Naruto looked up and said, Ya Kiba, it's me. I've been training hard lately, so I guess we haven't really seen each other much, huh? Kiba nodded and said, so you finally got rid of that orange thing, huh? What you been training in? Kurenai-sensei has us doing teamwork exercises and learning from our clans. Nei-san is teaching me a new move. I'll have it down in no time. Kurenai smiled, seeing her student's mood seemed to have brightened at seeing Naruto. Even Shino was listening intently. Yes, Naruto, what has Kakashi been teaching you? Naruto's visage darkened. Kakashi has taught me tree walking and leaf balancing while tree walking. Kurenai frowned along with the rest of her team. Surely he taught you more than that. Naruto's eyes flashed with anger. Nope, nothing else, Kurenai-sensei. That is all I have been taught in the past 4 months on my team. Sakura is barely better, but she doesn't really train, she just claims exhaustion and watches the Uchiha who has been taught, from what I can tell, at least 5 more fire jutsu along with advanced chakra control and taijutsu training. Oh, and he didn't teach us tree walking until our C-ranked mission a month ago where we faced Zabuza Momochi and his apprentice. Kiba yelled, what the hell? Kurenai-sensei, you taught us tree walking our first week together. Kurenai looked disturbed. Naruto. Tell me, what have you really been doing this past month? Naruto looked at Kurenai and sighed. I have been training in a taijutsu style called Kitsune-ken. I have also been working on advanced chakra control by making shadow clones and hanging them into various people around town and having them read in the library. I am tired of being called stupid, so I decided to change that. Team 8 was shocked. While they didn't get a full rundown of his abilities, it was obvious this was not the same Naruto everyone knew. But enough about that. Listen, I have the next few days off. What do you say we get a few of the genin teams together and all go out for dinner? It'd be nice to know about other people we may run missions with in the future. Kurenai nodded in acceptance. Good idea, Naruto. Why don't you let me invite some of the Junin sensei and a few of my friends as well? Naruto smiled. That'd be great, Kurenai sensei. I'll ask my team, but I doubt they will come. Still, I will bring a new friend I made if that is fine with you. Kurenai smiled. Sounds good. What do you think, team? Tomorrow, say 7 p.m. They all nodded and said their goodbyes. Naruto decided to take Shiroi to Hana for a checkup. Not to mention he hadn't seen her in a while and actually felt sad at that. Hokage's office. 12:30 p.m. A silver flash entered the office. Yo, worm. Sora said, smiling. The old Hokage nearly had a heart attack. Damn it, Sora. You're almost as bad as Naruto. Of course, Sora knew that the Hokage was reading his Ika right before he entered. Sora smirked. I wish. Hatchling could sneak in here while you were reading and steal your book from under your nose. Sarutobi shook his head. That he could. What do you need, Sora? I haven't seen you since that council meeting. Sora grew serious. Yes, well, it seems Naruto is progressing faster than I thought. I need someone to train him in evasion. Sarutobi thought for a minute, but he was interrupted by Sora. I was going through the village and its outskirts when I came across a huge forest. I think the woman inside called it the Forest of Death. I dunno. Sarutobi paled and said, she didn't. Sora smiled. Of course she attacked me. Still, that was some of the best evasion training of my life. Can you get her to help me with Naruto? Sarutobi sighed. Are you sure? She may just kill him. Sora shook his head. Nah. She never aimed to outright maim or kill. Although she was trying to hurt me. In any case, is that okay with you? Sarutobi nodded and clicked a button. Satsum. Could you please send for Anko Mitarashi? Thank you. Sora grew serious once more. Why did I feel devil's yukai coming from her? Sarutobi's face looked grave. If you want an explanation, wait for her, it is a very private issue for her. I will assure you she is fully human and in control of her actions. Sora nodded and the doors flew open. Hey, old man. Need me to kill someone? Anko said as she walked in, not unlike a certain blonde-haired container. Suddenly she froze. You. She lunged at Sora, who simply sidestepped her and watched her fly behind the desk. Sarutobi glared at Anko. Enough. I know he was in your forest, but he is here for a reason. Anko was not happy. The Forest of Death was her home. The only place she could get away from the villagers. Fine. What do you need and why is he here? Anko said a little more harshly than intended. After a glare from the Hokage, she bowed her head and apologized. As she did that, Sora noticed the mark on her neck. What demon would mark her? Rather, how did a demon get close enough to mark her and escape unnoticed? Sarutobi nodded and said, Anko, I have a mission for you. You are to assist Sora here in training a young ninja who needs some help. Anko was flabbergasted. You know I don't work well with kids. Why would you assign me to help him? Sora cleared his throat. I asked for you specifically. He needs evasion training and, as much as I enjoyed our little cat and mouse, I believe you are exceedingly proficient in thrown weapons and he would benefit greatly from this. Not to mention he heals incredibly fast, so you can throw as close as you want with no lethal wounds. Anko was actually considering it. What do I get if I do this? My time isn't cheap. And Sora looked at her and replied, I will pay you in one of two ways. Either monetary compensation, or, if you tell me the story behind that mark on your neck. I may be inclined to remove it. Both Anko and Sarutobi had their mouths agape. You can remove the curse seal? He asked incredibly. Curse seal? Sora asked confused. Anko walked up to him and grabbed his shirt. Don't toy with me. WHO sent you. She started shaking him, yelling obscenities, and was obviously pissed. Through all this, Sora was simply observing this so-called curse seal. It's not a mark in the true sense, just a bastardized version. Now I see why it's a seal. Sarutobi grabbed Anko and pulled her back. Anko, calm down. Anko was seething and glaring at Sora, but Sarutobi said, enough, Anko. This man has my full trust. He turned his gaze to Sora, and Sora actually felt slightly scared. And you? I told you it was personal. You should not have toyed with her. Sora shook his head. I meant what I said. What I meant by asking of the curse seal is that I believed it to be a demon's mating mark at first. Therefore I was confused when she referred to it in such a manner. To be honest, that seal is a bastardized mating mark. I am no seal expert, but you cannot remove that mark through sealing, at least to my knowledge. Anko crumbled. So I can never be free of him. Sora sighed. Did I not just say I can remove it? Well, not so much remove as replace with something far more beneficial. Anko stared at him with hopeful and suspicious eyes. What do you mean replace? Sora looked at her and said, simple, a stronger demon or dragon can overpower this seal and turn it into their own mate mark. This would free you from him, whoever he is, but you would be bonded to another until you die. Sarutobi spoke up. Now hold on a minute. Anko, think this through carefully. Sora, you too, after all you would be her mate, correct? Sora nodded and Anko looked deep in thought. Yes, I would. However, I have been alone for most of my life. I would not mind marking her and letting her do as she pleases. I can tell a mask when I see one. Sarutobi. Naruto wears his still, although his silliness has actually rubbed into his personality. Anko looked at Sora. What does being a mate entail? Sora looked at her slightly surprised. Well, bashfully mates are husband and wife, sexual partners, lovers, etc., etc. Anko seemed a little wary. Contrary to popular belief, she held onto her virginity for many years and she wasn't about to go giving it up to some guy she hardly knew. She only dressed this way because it helped distract her enemies. I'll have to think about it, she replied. Fair enough, Sora said, but will you help me train Naruto? She nodded. Yeah, alright. But the Gaki better not be like the rest of these villagers or he's gonna be a pincushion. Sora chuckled. You have no idea. Sarutobi just sighed as they walked out. He looked at Anko's retreating form, then at Sora's, and smiled. Maybe, just maybe, he can break that mask. Inuzuka Clinic. 1 p.m. Naruto walked in with Shiroi in his arms. She was now slightly larger than a newborn kitten but not fully grown. Thankfully she could still fit in his side pocket, but those days wouldn't last much longer. Hana looked up from behind the counter and smiled. While she wouldn't admit it to anyone but herself, she missed Naruto. Hey Hana-chan. Shiroi grew a little, so I wanna make sure she's growing fine, plus I haven't seen you in a while. Naruto said vibrantly. Hey Naruto-kun. It's good to see you too. Come to the back and we can get little Shiroi-chan a checkup. Hana said, blushing lightly at the fact that he wanted to see her. They walked in the back and she began to run jutsus on Shiroi, who sat there quietly. So Naruto, what have you been up to lately? Hana said innocently. Oh, just training and getting stronger, Hana-chan. Naruto said, smiling. Hana smiled right back and said, you must be pretty strong by now, huh? Naruto seemed to shine at the praise. Yep, Aniki said I could probably take a chunin in taijutsu now. Hana nodded. If Sora-san said so, then it must be true. He is a good fighter after all. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Yeah, it's great to have him train me. His breakfasts are great, but he never has time to make me anything for lunch. Hana was done with Shiroi, but she kept doing meaningless jutsu to keep Naruto there. So you never have lunch? Naruto shook his head. No, I usually just make myself a sandwich or something because he won't let me have ramen. There was a slight pause in his voice, but he continued, but it's fine, after all I never had anyone to make me food anyways. He chuckled and scratched his head, which Hana now noticed meant he was nervous. At the same time she felt sad. No one has ever made him lunch. At least when I went to school, Mom made my bentos, and when she was busy she had taught me how to. Now that I think about it, he's really never had anyone, huh? Well, that's gonna change, she thought with conviction. And maybe we can turn this to our advantage. Hana's feral side threw in, although Hana didn't seem to notice at that time. Hey Naruto-kun, what do you say you join me on the Hokage monument tomorrow for lunch? Hana said with a smile. Really, Hana-chan? Naruto asked with a light in his eyes. Sure Naruto-kun, I would enjoy spending some time with you. Hana replied. Hey, maybe we can do more than just spend time with him. No bad feral side. He is still only 13 right now. Hana thought. Thanks Hana-chan. I'll be there. Say 11:30. Naruto said while thinking, could this be considered a date? I sure hope so. I've been trying to get her to notice me for almost 2 years now. Hana nodded and said, well, Shiroi is all fine. I'm glad to see you're taking such good care of her. Naruto beamed once again. Ah, well, you know. Oh, before I forget. Tomorrow evening a bunch of the Genins and Junin sensei are gathering at a local karaoke bar for dinner. Would you like to come? Hana thought for a second. Sure, why not? It'll be fun. Kurenai is a Junin sensei. Will she be there? Naruto nodded furiously. Yeah, she's the one who suggested the bar and is asking the other senseis. Hana smiled and said, good, I'll see you tomorrow and don't bring anything. Okay. Naruto nodded and picked up Shiroi. He bolted for the door but stopped right before he opened it. CYA tomorrow, Hana-chan. And he disappeared. She smiled and then giggled. Oh, she was gonna have fun tomorrow. Naruto's house. 7 p.m. Naruto walked in after wandering the streets for a while. Yo bro, you home yet? He asked. Yeah Naruto. I'm in the kitchen. Dinner'll be done in a minute. Sora answered from the small kitchen. Naruto nodded and proceeded to set the table for him and his brother before setting out some raw meat for Shiroi, who eyed it hungrily before becoming a blur of whitened claws. She suddenly stopped and her dish was spinning, anime style, while licking her paw. Not a drop of blood or piece of meat left anywhere. I swear you're worse than me, Shiroi-chan. Naruto said, smiling. She seemed to smile sheepishly before Sora called out, dinner's ready, Naruto. Naruto chuckled and went over to the table. When he sat down, Shiroi jumped into his lap and curled into a ball and promptly took a nap. Dinner was nothing extravagant, just some curry with rice. Hey Aniki. Tomorrow night me and the other Genin teams are going to a karaoke bar. You wanna come? Naruto asked. Sure, should be fun, right? Sora said. Naruto smiled. Yeah, it should. His eyes seemed to take a distant look and Sora smiled. Of course lunch is gonna be more fun, right Otudo? Sora said cunningly. Naruto sputtered red-faced for a few seconds before answering nervously, "What could you mean, Aniki?" Sora chuckled, "You should really learn to destroy your scent even if you aren't training Naruto. I can smell Hana's scent all over you." Naruto went red-faced but sighed. "She asked me to join her for lunch tomorrow atop the monument. Thing is, I don't know if it's a date or just because she pities me. And I do not want to be pitied." Sora got serious. He knew Naruto didn't have any experience and this wasn't the time for teasing him. "Listen, just go with the flow. Do what comes naturally and whatever you do, don't insult her cooking. That's the best advice I have for you. I think she doesn't pity you as much as she just wants you to be happy," Sora said. Naruto thought it over a bit and smiled. "Thanks, Aniki. I'll do that." Sora smiled. "Good. Relax and it'll be easier, alright?" Naruto nodded. "Good, now get to bed. You can train lightly in the morning before taking a shower before lunch," Sora said, and they both turned in for the night. One with dreams of a brown-haired goddess and the other with hopes for the future. Midnight. Location unknown. Report. A shadowy figure said, "Sir, the one known as Sora seems to be training the Kyuubi child," a monotone voice replied. "I see. Continue observation until such time as I recall you. Do not get caught," the figure said. "Hi Shisho," the monotone voice replied and disappeared into the night. The moon shifted and hit the figure. Danzo sat in his chair mulling over this information. "I will find out what you are up to and claim the Kyuubi's power for myself." Next day, 11:25 a.m. Hana smiled. She had just finished setting up the blanket and assortment of sushi and several bowls of ramen for Naruto, all homemade. She had closed the clinic for the day with permission from her mother, who, and I quote, told her to mate with the dragon and give me grandpups to spoil already. Needless to say, Hana had blushed crimson and yelled at her mom for that. Although her feral side was becoming more active with each passing moment. It didn't help that last night she had dreamt of what he would look like when he came back. All those muscles, and that long hard. "Hold it, Hana. He's not there yet. Geez, am I really that horny?" she asked herself. "Yes, you silly girl. You're 17 nearing 18 and you have yet to claim a mate, of course you're horny." Her feral side replied. Alright, so I'm horny, I just have to wait 3 months. She thought. Maybe but that doesn't mean you can't satisfy your need for companionship. It was at this time Naruto had walked into the clearing and yelled to Hana, "Hey Hana-chan." Hana smiled and replied, "Good Naruto, I'm glad you made it." Naruto beamed and took a whiff of the food as he sat down. "Of course. I wouldn't miss this for the world. This ramen smells heavenly." Hana blushed lightly. "Thank you. I worked hard on them. I hope you like them." Naruto took a page from Hana and blushed as well. "Damn, she's cute when she blushes." He smiled and took a bite. His eyes widened and he almost dropped the bowl, yelling, "Amazing. What did you do to this ramen? I've never tasted this before." She smiled with a light blush. "Nothing, it's just regular steak ramen with the Inuzuka spices in it." He smiled brightly. "You gotta make me some more when we have lunch again." She was a little taken aback and quietly munched on her sushi. Did he really mean that? So he wants to have lunch again, huh? Inwardly, Naruto was a little freaked and thought, "Oh, I guess she didn't wanna have lunch with me again." I'm sorry, Hana. I didn't mean to force you to cook for me again," Naruto said sadly. "Huh," she said. "Why's he sad? I thought he wanted me to do it again." "I mean, you don't have to do this again, Hana. I appreciate the thought, but I don't like being pitied," Naruto replied. Wait, he wanted me to do it again and now he's saying I don't have to. Why would? Oh crap. He thought the silence meant I didn't want to. Hana looked right at Naruto. "Naruto. I'm sorry, I forgot you haven't had much interaction. What's wrong, Hana-chan?" Naruto asked. She blushed and just decided to come out with it. He'd never figure it out anyway. "Listen, Naruto, I do want to cook for you again. I was just embarrassed you liked it so much. Also, I'm not pitying you. You always bring a smile to my face just by being around me, so I just wanted to return the favor. She blushed a deeper red. Besides, I'd like to spend more time with you. Naruto was astonished. She wanted to spend more time with him. No one ever told him that. About 3 minutes later, Hana was a little annoyed. Yo earth to Naruto-kun, she said, snapping her fingers in front of his face. Huh. Oh yeah, sorry Hana-chan. It's just. Are you sure? I know the villagers don't treat people who associate with me well in. Naruto said. Hana cut him off. Those people are fools. You are one of the kindest people I know, Naruto. And to mention one of a very small portion of men who aren't perverted. And why wouldn't I want to be around someone who makes me smile? She asked with a smile. Naruto beamed. Well then, I'd be more than happy to have lunch with you any day, Hana-chan. But can we try and keep it low-key? I don't want you being persecuted if I can help it. Hana nodded but sighed. Fine, if you want, but don't expect me to back down if someone insults you. Naruto nodded, but inwardly he was doing a loony Bugs Bunny. You know, when he bounces off of every wall and that stuff. Yeah, that. She wants to spend more time with me. Maybe she likes me too. Hana smiled. Why don't we go get ready for the karaoke tonight? It's already 3. Naruto nodded. I'll see you there, Hana-chan. Hana smirked. Sure, Naruto-kun, see you there. She packed up the lunch and quickly walked home to get ready. She wanted to see what would happen tonight. Karaoke bar. 7 p.m. Most everyone had come. Sasuke, Sakura and Kakashi had, of course, skipped out, and some guy named Neji hadn't come from Team 9. However, Choji, Shikamaru, Ino, Hinata, Kiba, Naruto, Lee, Tenten, Yugao, Hayate, Yugao's fiancé, Hana, Kurenai, Guy, Asuma because Kurenai dragged him, Sora, and, even, Anko had shown up. Surprisingly, the place wasn't overly crowded, but it did have quite a few people there. Theirs was the largest group by far though. Kurenai tapped her glass after everyone had ordered and said, now that we are all here, why don't we say a little about ourselves? Now everyone reintroduced themselves with the same basic idea as the Junin exams. I will not type all this out, it's a waste of my time and yours. Hayate and Yugao were very into swords and each other. Anko, of course, liked snakes and torture, although they were surprised when she mentioned she liked reptiles in general. And of course Guy and Lee had a rant about the flames of youth. Which surprisingly ended when Sora outwitted them with a flames of youth speech about how unyouthful it was to scream indoors. Needless to say, every Jonin and Tenten thanked him. Teams mostly sat together with Naruto next to Hana and Anko actually sitting near Sora, hoping to learn more about him. The entertainment was soon on and everyone watched as people sang along. Ino sang, "That's what girls do," of course. Choji and Shikamaru both declined. Hayate couldn't sing because of his condition and Yugao didn't sing out of respect for him. Kiba sang, "Who let the dogs out?" Hinata nearly fainted again when asked. Hana said she couldn't sing, although she was encouraged by Naruto. Sora sang a song called, "Where Dragons Rule," by Dragon Force. Anko, well, she sang, "My humps, so yeah." Tenten declined, saying it wasn't her thing, and Naruto, "Well, let's just see, shall we?" Common Naruto, "I know you can sing." Sora said, "Oh, can he now? Well, he better, or no more lunches for you." Hana said teasingly. This didn't go unnoticed by Kiba, but he'd get him later. Naruto sighed. Fine, I'll sing, but you owe me double my ramen count this week, Sora. He made some shadow clones and told them to pick up the different instruments. What's he doing? Hana asked. Sora chuckled. He wanted to learn how to play, so he sent Cage Bunchins to learn when he was done in the library. He's pretty good if I remember correctly. Shish, it's starting. Lincoln Park. Somewhere I belong. When this began, I had nothing to say. And I get lost in the nothingness inside of me. I was confused. And I let it all out to find that I'm not the only person with these things in mind. Inside of me. But all that they can see, the words revealed. is the only real thing that I've got left to feel. Nothing to lose. Just stuck, hollow and alone. And the fault is my own, and the fault is my own. Chorus. I wanna heal, I wanna feel what I thought was never real. I wanna let go of the pain I've felt so long. Erase all the pain till it's gone. I wanna heal, I wanna feel like I'm close to something real. I wanna find something I've wanted all along. Somewhere I belong. And I've got nothing to say. I can't believe I didn't fall right down on my face. I was confused, looking everywhere only to find that it's not the way I had imagined it all in my mind. So what am I? What do I have but negativity? 'Cause I can't justify the way everyone is looking at me. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain, hollow and alone. And the fault is my own, and the fault is my own. Repeat chorus. I will never know myself until I do this on my own. And I will never feel anything else until my wounds are healed. I will never be anything till I break away from me. I will break away, I'll find myself today. Repeat chorus. I wanna heal, I wanna feel like I'm somewhere I belong. I wanna heal, I wanna feel like I'm somewhere I belong. Somewhere I belong. Silence reigned in the bar as the song finished. Everyone could see the emotion Naruto put into it. The adults there, which was a majority, knew what he meant by finding somewhere, but only two knew what he meant when he said the fault was his own. Hana nearly cried but kept it in, although she looked right at Naruto, letting him know she was watching. Sora, on the other hand, he cried. For the second time in less than a year, Ryujin had cried for his brother. Since no one but Hana knew why Sora was so emotional, they simply chalked it up to his own past. Ino noticed and opened her big mouth. I won't bash her much, she just needs to shut her mouth sometimes. I don't get it. Why is Naruto singing about belonging somewhere? Doesn't he belong in Konoha? Sora very nearly glared before he remembered she was ignorant. Instead he sighed and wiped his eyes. He has never belonged in Konoha, Ino. None of you really bothered to notice him, but if you had, you would notice the stares and hatred he gets for no reason at all. He can't even walk into 90% of the stores in Konoha, and the other 9% that let him in sell him worthless goods at premium prices. Ino scoffed. He probably just pranked all of them. So they don't want to serve him. By now Naruto had rejoined them but was sitting listening. Hana growled. He's not lying, Ino. While Naruto's pranks are rather grand, it never harms a business. However, I have personally seen grocers sell him expired and outdated foods. The clinic is one of about 3 or 4 places in the city that he can walk into without being thrown out. Inwardly Naruto was crying with happiness. Ino, however, looked to her sensei. Sensei, we were taught in school that Konoha values teamwork over everything else. Why would we treat one of our own like this? Naruto spoke up. Ino, you have always had a roof over your head and parents to feed you, haven't you? Ino looked back at Naruto. Of course. But you were an orphan, so you lived at the orphanage, right? Naruto scoffed. Sure, for 5 years. I was kicked out on my birthday, October 10th, when I was 5 because, and I quote, demons don't need a home. So tell me, Ino, if the orphanage didn't want me, then why pulled Konoha want me? Ino was shocked along with the rest of the youngsters. The adults, however, had multiple reactions. Kurenai, Asuma, Hayate, and Yugo were wondering how in the world the Hokage allowed that to happen. Anko was having flashbacks to when Orochimaru left her. Guy for once was serious and had a severely depressed look on his face. Sora was gritting his teeth and Hana was looking down, sad that she hadn't helped sooner. I won't tell you why she called me a demon, yet. Maybe once I trust you more then I will tell you, but just know the adults can't say anything. Naruto said sadly. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome blonde. That comment seemed to lighten the mood somewhat. Well, I'm tired, so I'm gonna head home. Good night, everyone. Naruto said cheerfully. Everyone said their goodbyes, but the same thought was running through most of their heads. Just what made Naruto so sad? Training Ground 8. Next day. Naruto had just come back from his, now daily, lunch with Hana and was in very high spirits. That is until he saw Sora being chased around the training grounds by the crazy snake lady, as he now dubbed her cause she was firing snakes all over the place. Yo Naruto! Sora yelled as he ran past him. You bastard, get back here! Anko yelled, and somehow she started to target Naruto as well, who was now running alongside Sora. What the hell did you do to her, Aniki? Naruto asked as he dodged a kunai snake combo. Ed just said she was a beautiful snake princess. Hee maybe I shouldn't have done that. Sora said, dodging 8 snakes. You said it again. Anko roared and redoubled her efforts to turn them into pincushions. Man, Aniki, next time keep your big trap shut. Naruto said. 2 hours later, Anko had finally calmed down and they all stopped. Sora eyed her warily but approached her. Well, thank you for your help today. Will you come back tomorrow? He asked. Anko smiled sweetly, and then decked Sora. As he sat on the ground, a kunai hid between his legs. Call me that again and I'll kill you. At first Sora seemed scared, then Naruto bust out laughing. He was soon joined by Anko and then Sora while thinking, man, her laugh is cute. That's Sora.